Hey friends, welcome back to Top 10 Gaming and our series on creepypastas. Now for those of you unfamiliar with this series, we delve into a bunch of gaming themed creepypastas, aka internet urban legends, featuring all things gaming from some of your favorite titles. And today we are jumping into Pokemon territory once again with scary Charmander creepypastas you've never heard, but have likely maybe heard it once. So we are breaking down a few different Charmander themed creepypastas for you today. One or two of these might sound a little familiar to you, but hopefully our title rings true and these will be brand new horrifying stories to scare your pants off. Or on. No judgment, people, either way. And with that in mind, let's get to our list of scary Charmander creepypastas. And by list, I mean 3 of them. Yeah, that was 3, okay, just wanted to. Starting us off, we have a creepypasta called Strangled Red. Now this story follows a gamer who finds a Pokemon Red game cartridge in his neighbor's trash. He fishes it out when the garbage truck arrives and asks his neighbors if it's alright that he takes it. They tell him yes, looking a little perplexed, saying that it actually wasn't theirs. They didn't throw it out and they don't know where it came from. Maybe someone just tossed it in their bin. The gamer shrugs this off and examines the cartridge. Minus the front sticker with Charizard being slightly torn, nothing seems really off about it. The gamer had played Pokemon Blue when they were a child, so they were excited to play Red and see the differences between the two. When they popped the cartridge into their old Game Boy though, they were taken aback by the title screen. Rather than reading Pokemon Red, its title was Pokemon Strangled Red version. The gamer sighed, the cartridge was clearly a hack, but they decided to check it out anyway. Why not? It was free after all. Their disappointment turned to curiosity when they started to notice a few differences between this game and the original Blue that they had played. Charizard was standing next to the trainer rather than a Charmander. There was no Charizard cry when you hit the start button, and the screen cut to black, but there was no music, no Professor Oak, and it started off in a bedroom without any intro. When the player opened the menu, he saw that his player's name was Steven. The sprite had only one Pokemon, a Charmander called Miki, at level 5. The sprite was slightly different than the red sprite from the traditional Pokemon games. He had longer hair. Our narrator even went to say that he actually kinda liked this sprite over the original Red. Anywho, as the game progressed, instead of having a rival, he was given a brother named Mike, and the two initially had an easy battle, Charmander versus Mike Squirtle. As he continued to explore, he discovered Red's house, you know, Red from the original games, aka Ash. Low-key Ash. That's where he saw Red's mom. She would tell the player that she hoped her son would become a Pokemon master after he left next year to be a trainer. That's when it clicked for our gamer. This game took place a whole year before the original Pokemon Red and Blue. While the story of the game was slightly different, everything else proceeded like normal. But one thing was noticeably changed. Miki, his Charmander, was really strong. Like, we're talking stronger than a normal Charmander. This Charmander even whooped Misty's butt and was barely affected by her Pokemon's water attacks. By the time the gamer reached Lavender Town, everything was still normal, until he tried to enter Pokemon Tower. His sprite Steven stopped him, with dialogue popping up that read, "I have no reason to be here." Our narrator shrugged it off and continued to play. Eventually he made it to the Elite Four. There was a battle with Steven's brother Mike, and after our narrator won the battle, the screen went black. The game resumed inside of the house that he began in, with Steven and Mike sitting at a computer in the room, with Mike pressuring the narrator to give him Miki to complete his Pokedex. Mike's dialogue, "Come on, please," kept looping, no matter how many times the player tried to say no. Eventually he gave in and said yes. That's when he heard a piercing snap sound, which terrified the crap out of him. The game froze mid-trade, with Miki, now a Charizard, frozen on the screen. The gamer turned the game off to reset it. But when it was turned back on, there was no Charizard standing next to the trainer in the opening screen. There was no new game option, only continue. Text that read 1 year later appeared, with the player spawning outside of Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. Opening up the menu, he saw Miki was gone along with all of his other Pokemon. As he moved around the world, it was like he was being affected by poison, like when one of your Pokemon are poisoned. It kept flashing. By the time he made it out of the tower, he was crawling on his knees. His hair looked all disheveled. That's when our player put 2 and 2 together. You were the previous champion mentioned in the original Pokemon Red and Blue, and you had given up. He discovered that Miki was dead, and playtime had been added to his game that equaled up to a year later, and every time that he went to Wild Grass, Pokemon would ignore him or avoid him entirely. So he roamed Kanto trying to discover more, but was met continuously with NPCs giving him their condolences. Eventually he stumbled upon a missing no and was able to catch it. He was then returned to the Pokemon Tower, and the game took over control from our gamer narrator. He watched as the game began to devolve and glitch, with the option Strangle appearing on the screen. Reluctant Reluctantly, our narrator selected it. The dialogue "Goodbye" had appeared, and all of a sudden he heard that same terrifying snap noise, so he shut off the game. When he turned it back on, a glitchy Steven and Charizard appeared, and when he hit continue this time in the opening menu, he was brought to a zoomed out view of Pallet Town, Steven's house now surrounded by stones blocking it off from the rest of Kanto. Nothing happened, until slowly, the screen faded to white and returned to the title screen. Our gamer tried to hit continue once again, but only one piece of dialogue appeared. No. Alright, moving on to our second creepypasta in this video, Charizard? Actually, that's how it's spelled. This one comes from DeviantArt user Dolden Draco 14, and it has a fun title, doesn't it? This creepypasta is told from the perspective of a mysterious voice who begins by asking you, the reader, if you've come to help them. They go on to beg you not to stare at them, and after an aggressive outburst, they beg you to not go. They inform you that they may not look like a Bulbasaur, but they really are. It slowly becomes apparent that this voice is from a Pokemon. They tell you that they once had a name, a trainer, and now those are all fading memories. They were happy until, I quote, "that thing came." Now that thing was a Charizard. Now their trainer had previously owned a Charizard that was from their starter Pokemon Charmander. It had evolved and they had gotten it at the beginning of their journey, as you do with starter Pokemon. But when it eventually evolved into a Charizard later on, it passed away in a terrible accident during a gym battle. Our narrator Pokemon says that they cried all day and that the trainer eventually got a new Charizard to try to feel better about the situation. When this happened though, the trainer swapped out our narrator Pokemon from their party to replace them with this new Charizard. Then, time passed. A very long time. Our narrator Pokemon lived in the PC for what felt like an eternity and began to feel as if they were warping, being pulled and pushed from every direction. Their body was contorted, their skeleton forcibly lengthened, muscles squeezing and tearing apart. They went from looking like a Bulbasaur to transforming into a monstrosity. Eventually, their master came back. When he released this Bulbasaur, the trainer looked disgusted at them. Our narrator Pokemon had transformed into a demented looking Charizard. But that's when things get even weirder. The Pokemon looked around to see all of his Pokemon peers who had been in the PC, but now released. They too had all become Charizards themselves, distorted monstrosities of former Pokemon, warped to be the fiery dragons. And last but not least, our final creepypasta for you guys, Blood Evolved. This one is a rather short creepypasta from our friends at Amino, from a user by the name of Shiny Ninetales. Now in this one, a narrator informs us that they recently just got their own copy of Pokemon Red. They chose Charmander as their starter. As one does, that's who I would always pick. After playing for a while and boosting their Pokemon up in battles, the game stated that Charmander was evolving. But when the evolution screen appeared, a strange text box appeared as well that read, "Charmander could not evolve." Confused, our narrator pressed the A button. To their shock, the text now read, "Charmander fainted." What? They were pretty confused. They went to the Poké Center to heal their Pokemon, and to their utter shock, something horrible happened. After handing their Pokemon over to the center's nurse, a text box appeared that read, "Charmander is dead. It cannot be healed." Annoyed, this player ventured into the tall grass, hoping that this was just some weird bug or glitch. But as they entered into a battle, what they saw next shocked them. Charmander appeared, coming out of its Pokeball, but now it was covered in deep gashes, its flesh torn. The player tried to run from the battle, but the text box kept reading, "Too weak to move." Now as the battle progressed, they heard a deathly cry. It was their Charmander screaming out at them through the game in wretched pain. Partially covering their ears, they threw their Game Boy against the wall, breaking it and the cartridge in the process. Alright, there we have it friends. Which of these three creepypastas was your favorite? I know which one mine was. It was number 1. Do you have your own Pokemon Charmander themed creepypasta that you'd like to share with us? Or suggestions on creepypastas that we should cover next? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know. And if you guys dug this video, spread that love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Gaming for more content just like this. In the meantime though, thanks for watching friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.